Hi, I'm Cyndi Lauper. My scalp was covered with psoriasis, which could lead to psoriatic arthritis. But Cosentyx treats both.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis 300 milligram dose and adults with active psoriatic arthritis 150 milligram dose. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at Cosentyx.com or 1-844-COSENTYX.
Cosentyx works for me.
Ask your doctor about Cosentyx.
It's The Other Side of Midnight with Frank Morano.
I am very, very pleased to be joined once again by someone who is not only a friend, but a genuine firebrand, and I mean that in the best sense of the word. She's become a valuable contributor to this show, frequently raising points that would otherwise not be raised. She is an attorney, she's an author, she is a political commentator, but the hat that we often make her wear on this program is that of film critic. I am very, very pleased to welcome back to the program the one and only Debbie Schlussel. Debbie, how are you?
Hi, doing great. Thank you, Frank. What an introduction. I'll tip you later.
Well, so Debbie, I want to talk movies, but right before you came on, we were talking about the story in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend about how more and more women are happily single. And for some, it's that they're prioritizing career over relationships. For some, women basically are not meeting men that are as educated as they are. They're not meeting men that are as ambitious career-wise as they are. And based on the caller that I just got on this subject, there seems to be a little bit of an immaturity gap between adult men, young adult men, and young adult women. I'm curious, because, you've been open about the fact that you've never married. I'm curious if you've noticed that anecdotally. Have you noticed sort of a gap between the maturation levels of men and women?
Well, I mean, I think that women always mature faster than men, or, when we're younger and we're boys and girls and so on. I think the country, the culture, the way we have it now has kind of infantilized a lot of male culture, and a lot of the things that I see have dumbed down men. I mean, I think affirmative action, which, helps women just based on being a woman, has helped them tremendously. Men have been held back. More women graduate from college every year than men, have graduate degrees than men, and that's all because of these government policies. It's part of the whole DEI movement. I think also, if you look, and this is something I've written about for decades, if you look at the movies, the TV shows, etc., the men are usually stupid, worthless. They left their family. They cheated on their wives. They didn't care about their kids and so on. And I think, when men are being treated, boys and men are being treated this way, eventually it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when you have government dollars aimed at women and advancing them, and really, in turn, not only not doing anything for men, but really kind of regressing them, this is what's going to happen. So I did read that Wall Street Journal article, and I'm not surprised by any of that. I'm not proud that I'm single. I'm not embarrassed that I'm single. In my case, I mean, there was part of that, but also just a lot of things didn't work out, and a misalignment of the stars. It wasn't about my career or anything like that. But I do agree with that summary of and those things that you've said. But I think it's because of government policy. I think it's because of pop culture and its influence on society. and just a number of forces that I think are man-made and deliberate against men.
Well said, Debbie. I don't know that I can disagree with much of what you said there. 30 minutes after the hour, this is The Other Side of Midnight. Before we get to movies, I love asking you about politics, not only because you're so well informed, but because you're one of the increasingly rare independent voices in the media. You're not reading left-wing talking points. You're not reading right-wing talking points. You're obviously very conservative, but you have said that you're not happy with a lot of the things that Trump has done and didn't vote for Trump in the most recent election, but you have no problem giving him credit where credit is due. Two issues that I'm wondering about your opinion of Trump's handling of them is this Columbia University situation, where apparently Columbia has now agreed to a series of demands from the Trump administration in an effort to restore $400 million in federal funding, and the attempt to deport the green card holder Mahmoud Khalil. What's your opinion on Trump's handling of both, Debbie?
Well, so also I just want to point out I did not vote for Kamala Harris either. I didn't vote for president. I don't want anyone to think I voted for her.
Understood.
So I do think that is one of the things where Trump is doing a great job. A lot of the pressure that he's putting on universities, I think, is great, because part of the reason, and this goes back to your last question on the other topic, part of the reason I think that American culture has really declined is because of the influence of colleges. I mean, that is kind of declining now as fewer people go to college, and also a lot of people have chosen different paths and so on. But I do think that, all the people who do go to college, those are the people who, for the most part, become the leaders of this country. They're the ones that become the elected officials, and they're the ones that set policy. They're the ones that dominate entertainment in terms of not being actors or actresses, but the ones who greenlight things and choose what gets made into movies and what the agenda is in those movies and all of that. All of those people have shaped American society, I think, not for the better, but for the worse over the last, several decades. And, where you used to have, like, for example, in the 40s when late 30s and early 40s when America was against the Nazis, you had Hollywood against that. And then since then, you had Hollywood against America. America was always the bad guy. You had anti-war forces from them. You had forces from them that wanted to DEI-ify everything, that wanted to make men, be the stupid idiots and the bad guys and everything, and so on. White people were the bad guys. Males were the bad guys, just, the standard stuff of the left. And so I think the fact that Trump is pressuring these universities, not just on the anti-Semitism and the Palestinian Hamas stuff, is great, because these universities were brainwashing people. I'm a University of Michigan graduate, and I went to Wisconsin to get both my graduate degrees. And at all three places, they try to brainwash you, and they're, for the most part, very successful at it. You have to be somebody that's very strong-minded and an independent thinker, like I was and still am, to survive that and still have your views intact. Most parents send their kids away to college and grad school, and they get back, programmed far lefties, unfortunately. And so I think Trump is doing a great job cracking down on that and pressuring these universities. As far as Mahmoud Khalil, that guy is a Hamas supporter. He was spreading Hamas propaganda. He openly supported Hamas. He's claiming he didn't, but he did. He knows it. We all know it. He's a propagandist for the enemy. And under immigration law, a president is allowed to deport people who support terrorist groups and who support the enemy. Hamas is an American enemy, not just a Jewish or Israeli enemy. And he's well within his rights, and the Supreme Court has confirmed this time after time after time. And he has the exclusive domain over immigration. I mean, we even saw that during the Obama administration when Arizona tried to enforce the immigration law that Obama did not. So there is nothing wrong with what Trump is doing, the Immigration and Nationality Act. You know, they keep saying on TV, oh, an arcane law or an old law. Please, that's our immigration law. And he has every right to do this. So I'm all for what he's doing with that. Listen, I support a lot of things that he's doing. He's doing a lot of great stuff. It's just the problem is there's a lot of things he's doing that I think are not so great or they're phony.
Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/realid or visit your local DMV.
If people are just tuning in, this is The Other Side of Midnight. My guest is Debbie Schlussel. You can find her on Twitter at Debbie Schlussel, SCHLUSSEL. Debbie, any chance we could see an update to your website anytime soon?
I know I keep saying this, but I hope that I will soon. But I have to make a living, and I'm very.
I get it. Believe me, I get it. Believe me, I get that. Before we move on to the movies, you mentioned or alluded to a few of the crazy things that Trump is doing. Briefly, what's he doing at the moment that you don't like?
So, listen, I like that he's cutting a lot of agencies' budgets and that he's eliminating jobs. The government was way too big, but he's gotten rid of a lot of important things that, really are the common defense. I think I may have mentioned this the last time I was on. I'm not sure, but I'll give you an example. In Michigan, in the Great Lakes, where we have a lot of fish and we have fish for the entire Midwest, the prices are going to go up because he cut funding to something that kills what are called lampreys, which are these eel-like fish or sea monsters that were really imported from other regions, probably from Europe. Ships, when they released the water in their hulls when they were in the Great Lakes, the water from elsewhere would release these lampreys. Now there are tons of them throughout the Great Lakes. They kill many, many fish. They bite into them and kill them. And because of the lampricide provided by the federal government and funded by the government, they've killed a lot of these lampreys, and they've saved about 2 million fish a year. So without the lampricide, the lampreys are going to expand. They reproduce rapidly, and their population grows rapidly. They're going to kill 2 million fish a year, and the price is going to go way up. I mean, that's an example, and I think that's a purpose of government. I do like that he's deporting a lot of people. The numbers show that it's still not near the levels of Obama, and that it's it may even be less than the numbers of Biden, but it's close to the numbers of Biden. And he took people, for example, to Gitmo, and then he brought them back to the United States. That's actually what Tom Homan, his border czar, was known for. Because under Obama, Tom Homan was the deportation chief. He headed the enforcement and removal operations of ICE. And what he did was he would bring illegal aliens into the country from Mexico, from the southern border, and then he would, what was called reverse escorting, he would bring them to the Midwest and northern states. And that would make it harder for them to be deported. They would be settled here. And they were given lawyers and all kinds of stuff. So he was in charge of that. And he's that guy. He's not the guy he pretends to be now or the guy he pretended to be under the first Trump administration. And that's why you're not seeing the numbers that Trump promised, because Trump has the ability to do that. He just isn't doing it. Because why would Obama be able to do that and Trump wouldn't be able to? And this is the guy that brought these people in during Obama. So Obama could have had even better numbers. He just brought people in and didn't move them out. I do like Trump's Remain in Mexico policy that he had the first administration. I think he's going to have that soon. I don't see that he's had it yet. I just think a lot of other things he's done to cut spending are great. I don't like Elon Musk doing that. He wasn't on our ballot. He's got a huge conflict of interest in a number of ways. He could have cut $38 billion of wasteful spending contracts on his companies. I mean, you and I, or anybody else listening, we'd love to get the government to give us $38 billion. And I see no evidence that the government should have invested $38 billion in electric cars of Tesla and his space company, SpaceX. I don't see why we should have spent that money. That's a great example of waste that never was cut. And by all accounts, he really hasn't cut that much and nowhere near what he has claimed. I don't like that park rangers lost their jobs. I think that's a good purpose of government. But on the other hand, the government had way too many employees. I'm glad they cut a lot of people. And all these people crying about losing their job after decades, you know what? Welcome to reality. A lot of Americans in the private sector lose their jobs in months after getting a job, or a couple of years after getting their job. So that's the real world. Welcome to it. The government had way better benefits than normal people also.
Excuse me. On to the movies. A movie that everybody seemed to have a problem with was Snow White. Liberals had a problem. Conservatives had a problem. Everybody was treating this very controversial. They scaled back their anticipated premiere, and it looks like that reflected at the box office. It did not do well at the box office this weekend. You saw Snow White. What'd you think?
I actually thought it was very good.
Really? Oh, right.
Yes. I was expecting it to be boring and DEI-ified and woke, and actually they took a lot of that out. Originally, all the leftists, the feminists, were all upset that Snow White is asleep and a male prince kisses her against her will, and that brings wakes her up, and so on. And they were going to take the kiss out, but in fact, the kiss is in the movie. They put that back in, or they kept it in. It's not a prince. It is her male love interest, but in this movie, he's not a prince. He's a bandit who is fighting against the evil queen and leading the group of bandits fighting against her. They originally, at least there were rumors about this, that they took away the 7 dwarfs and instead had 7 people of different sizes and ethnicities. Well, now those are the people in the bandits. I wouldn't say they're different sizes, but they are. It is diversified. The dwarfs are the 7 dwarfs that you would have anticipated. They didn't use real actors. They used it's CGI, and I don't know if the faces are even of real people or those are CGI. Obviously, there are prosthetic noses on them and so on, and but the voices, I'm sure, are human, or I shouldn't say I'm sure because you never know. But they kept the 7 dwarfs in. Left, I think the dwarf community was upset at first. Some of them were upset that the dwarfs were going to be taken out of the movie. Some were happy they were, but were upset that they were going to be CGI'd. And that was Peter Dinklage was one of those people. He's probably the most famous dwarf. I think they should have cast real dwarfs and not taken the jobs away from them because, they don't get a lot of jobs in acting. But I thought overall the movie was good. All the old songs are in it, Whistle While You Work, and so on. I thought it was great. They were true to the story. The costumes were amazing, especially of the evil queen. The costumes and the makeup that she had were great. I liked it. I thought it was good. So I didn't have any objections.
Great. I
don't know why it was slow at the box office, except for there has been years of attacks on this movie, and I think a lot of people were expecting it to be something different than what it turned out.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that it was good. All right. I read the New York Daily News review of the film I'm about to ask you about, And I thought to myself, wow, I really want to see this film. And then I read the New York Post review of it, and they said it was just terrible. So I'm very curious to get your take on this new Robert De Niro film. I'm a mob movie aficionado, and, there's nobody that does a mob movie better than Robert De Niro. He plays two different characters in this new film called The Alto Kings. Is it worth seeing?
So I was going to say, yeah, Robert De Niro in a novel role for him as a mobster. And yes, they couldn't find another person to play one of the mobsters. I hated this movie. I thought it was very distracting that they had the same person play both people. At first, I didn't realize, I had read nothing about this movie when I went to see it, and I didn't realize at first that he's playing two different people, and I'm hearing De Niro's voice on the second person. I'm thinking, what is going on here? Is it the same person? Then I realized, it's two different characters that he's playing, and it's distracting, and it's a gimmick. And usually they use gimmicks like this when the movie is terrible and they need a gimmick to get people to come in to see it, and that is the case here. It's very boring. I love a good mob movie. I love, for example, The Departed is one of my favorite movies, Godfather 2, and so on. Godfather 1 also. I love a good mob movie. This is not that. I would have been the ideal target audience for this. It's long, it's slow, it's boring. There's nothing interesting about it. I looked at my phone a million times to see what time it was. I was in the back of the theater and it was empty, fairly empty, and I read a lot of text and did other stuff while this movie was going because I got so bored. It's pointless. Nothing goes on. It's supposed to be the story of the two dueling mobster leaders, Frank Costello and
Vito Genovese. Vito Genovese.
Vito Genovese. And I could name all five of the mobs, the five families that were in the mob, and I'm interested in this stuff. And this is supposed to be a true story, and it was just a yawner. The only thing good about it is Deborah Messing plays Frank Costello's wife. She's got some interesting clothes, and so whoever did the costuming did a good job. Other than that, there's nothing to see here, and I would say save your money and move along unless you need something to help you fall asleep.
So now, when you see a movie that you're bored by, like clearly this one fits the bill, you still stay in the theater. You don't abandon the film and walk out.
Well, only because I have to review it. But I have to tell you, like on Netflix, when I watch stuff that, it's already past when it debuted and I don't like it, I just stop.
Gotcha.
At some point, life is short and don't waste it on something you don't like. I would rather walk out. Honestly, this is a movie I would have walked out on.
This is a film that I'm not familiar with and haven't heard about. It's called Magazine Dreams. What's the story here? What's this about? Bodybuilding?
So this stars Jonathan Majors, the guy whose career was really derailed when he was accused and then later convicted of two domestic violence charges or related charges in New York. I hated this movie. All the critics raved over it before the domestic violence stuff came out. I don't know what they're saying now. Probably still but the movie is very bloody and gross. It's pointless. It's very dark and disturbing. And it's about this guy who is a bodybuilder on steroids. He takes care of his grandfather because both his parents are dead. His father killed his mother. His father was a bodybuilder and so on. And he idolizes this guy that is clearly on steroids also and sends him letters a lot, tells him about his life. He's a very dysfunctional human. He cannot communicate well with regular people. He's very violent. He's very obsessed with this bodybuilding career, and he's also racist against white people. I just hated this movie. The guy is a psychopath, and it was pointless. So no thank you on this.
Because kind of dealing with the subject that we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, anti-Semitism, is a new film out called October 8th that has to do with anti-Semitism in America. What'd you think of this film?
Yeah, so I thought this was very good. And yes, it's about it's called October 8th because it's about the aftermath of October 7th and the heightened anti-Semitism in America, but also around the world. And I thought it was very well done. It's a documentary. It's an hour and 40 minutes, and there are a number of people that you see online who are good advocates that are in this movie. You see Noah Tishby, you see Deborah Messing, the aforementioned, you see Michael Rappaport, and I think it shows what is going on and what happened after the October 7th, 2023 events, and I believe it's a very good documentary. I've seen a lot of documentaries. Many of them are boring. Some of them are very good. I enjoyed this. I thought it was very important. I mean, to say enjoyed it, I don't know, because I'm not happy about all this, and I'm a victim of it. But
it was well done, and you'd recommend it.
Yes.
All right. One last film I'm going to ask you about before we run out of time here. Novocaine. Who doesn't like a good action comedy? Is this a good action comedy?
So I didn't like it. I liked the idea of it, but then it just goes too far and it turns into a violent, bloody mess. And you know with the premise that it's going to be like that because the story is that the main character, played by Jack Quaid, a Nepo baby. By the way, everyone in this movie is a Nepo baby, and Jack Quaid's a Nepo baby squared, with both his parents being big stars in the past. But he plays this guy who's an assistant bank manager who has this condition where he cannot feel pain. And so you know that he's going to be inflicted with a lot of pain. The bank gets robbed, and the woman of his dreams, who's a bank teller, he chases after the bank robbers to try and get her because they've taken her hostage. Jack Nicholson's son is in the movie. He looks kind of like J.D. Vance, by the way. If he had a beard, he could play him. And the woman that plays the love interest, I think her last name is Midthunder. Her father's a famous Native American, at least in that circle, Native American actor, producer, and director. And her mother's an actress. And so everybody in this movie is basically a Nepo baby. And it's like, that's all you can come up with as far as actors. Like I said, I liked the idea of it at the beginning. And then I just didn't like it turned into torture porn and it got stupid. It wasn't for me.
Fewer Nepo babies in film and in politics. That's what I say, Debbie.
Amen
All right.
to that. I agree. We don't need dynasties. We got rid of that in 1776.
Debbie, it's always a treat to talk with you. I hope we can do this again soon.
Amen.
All right, Debbie Schlussel. Hey, if you want to be heard for 15 seconds, we'll give you an opportunity to do just that in a moment. We have 7 open lines, 646-720-0635. That's 646-720-0635. This is The Other Side of Midnight. Straight ahead.